couple of minutes, see if anyone pops in. As soon as I get the all clear, I'll start. But we've just seen the weigh-in. Golovkin makes the weight 168, and I'm looking forward to the fight for sure, man. I'm not going to start until someone jumps in, gives me the all clear with the sound. But once I get the all clear, we'll definitely talk about it, man. Golovkin versus Canelo. Give it a couple of minutes, and get the show started. But before I do start anyway, I just want to say, thank you for stopping in. If you do watch the replay, thanks for stopping in. Salute Betty, thanks for stopping in. Let me know if you can hear me and I'll start the show. I appreciate your time, as always. And as soon as I get the all clear for sound, and as I was just saying, I apologize if it lags. I apologize if the quality isn't good and all that. Loud and clear. All right. So, Canelo Alvarez. So we got a classic, we got a classic, a heavyweight, super middleweight, undisputed championship fight. Heavyweight, yeah, I'm all about heavyweights. I apologize for that error. So it is a super middleweight, classic, Triple G, against the boxing people's state. Hopefully we got some people rock up today, some of the boxing public, but for sure if you do show up, hit the thumbs up, and let's get into it, man. So this is a trilogy fight, legendary trilogy fight. They say, what's going on, every frog? Thanks for stopping in. As I was saying, it's I apologize if it lags. I hope that it doesn't, but I apologize if it does. But basically, this is a legendary fight. Grab a drink if you can. I've just got a water today. No lagging yet. It does lag as we go on. But like I was saying, it's a legendary fight. And when you think about legendary fights, especially with Trilogy, you got to always, boxing fans or not, you always have to refer to Ali versus Frazier. Always, that's a legendary, trilogy right there. And this one is a good one, but obviously it doesn't live up to the hype as that one, just because everyone knows Ali. And the thing with this one is that Canelo's coming off a loss. He's coming off a loss, and he's dropped in weight to fight a guy, Triple G, which has gained weight. So Triple G was a middleweight, is a middleweight champion, I should say, unified middleweight champion, and he's going up in weight, where Canelo's dropping in weight to fight for the super middleweight undisputed championship of the world. So the trilogy, they're building it up as a legendary one, but it's not going to live up to the hype. Ali versus Frazier, going back to Ali, he was my all-time favorite. What's going on, Sketching Pete? Thanks for stopping in. He was my all-time favorite. He lost to, I remember he lost to Ken Norton, a guy that broke his jaw, and he came back 6 months later, ran it back, won the fight. Straight after that, challenged Frazier, where he lost to Frazier time, challenged Foreman, and in the space of a year, he ran it back again with Frazier. That's what you call a trilogy. This one here is just, it's just been such a long time that they've fought each other. Although the date is pretty much, September. I can see the lag right now, man. I apologize. I do apologize. Unfortunately, man, this is a common problem. Let me know if you can hear me. Just a little. Yeah, no, either. Give me the all clear if you can hear me. You can. And it's lagging there, then I'll have to stop it. Unfortunately. So yeah, let me know if you can hear. It is lagging. The volume's lagging, or just the picture. Um, yeah, I apologize about that, man. I do apologize. It's a common problem on my end, man. I really need to fix it. But as I was saying, um, so Canelo is challenging a guy that's you can hear, okay. As long as the volume's not lagging, or else I will stop it. You know, I know people will watch the replay, and I do apologize for that. You know, I really do. But as I was saying, Canelo is the face of boxing. People could state, but I mean, Golovkin is the man. You know, I mean, Golovkin's got the highest knockout ratio in middleweight history. Definitely a legend. You know, one of the greats for sure. And and this should be a classic. You know, this should be a great fight. Um, we got 4 people in the house. Hey, I apologize for the lag. 5 people in the house. I apologize for the lag, man. I know that you guys can hear me. Um, it's just probably where I'm sitting or where I'm at. What's going on? Warm Strong, thanks for tuning in. So basically, yeah, as I was saying, I apologize for the lag. I was just mentioning that you can still hear me. Yeah, I was just mentioning that, with Ali, you know, they ran that trilogy back straight away, with the Frazier one. This one, people can say it's legendary, but it's been a long time, 4 years later. Even though it's in September, it's still a good fight. It's still a good fight. I would say the true legend for me is Golovkin, though. The true legend for me is Golovkin out of the two. He's unbeaten. Golovkin has the highest knockout ratio in middleweight history. So I mean, Golovkin's one of the most avoided fighters. Golovkin is amongst the greats like Hagler. You know what I'm saying? Canelo, I think, in the last 4 fights hasn't impressed me too much. Canelo's a guy that it's been razor sharp close until the championship rounds, where he walks the guys down. And he's taking this fight personal. Golovkin, it was just another fight to him, and I personally do believe that Golovkin should have won that first fight, hands down. He should have won that first fight. He was the champion. Knockout ratio, highest in middleweight history. And what's going on? Boxing First Vlog, the man himself steps in the building. Hey man, I apologize for the lag and all that. I'm hearing that you guys can hear me loud and clear. The picture's not too great, but I do really apologize. But as I was saying, to me the legend in this fight is Golovkin. Highest boxing, um, I should say the last 4 fights. Like I was saying, he came out in the last rounds, the last couple of rounds, championship rounds, and he closed the show. He's winning like against. Obviously, he lost to Bivol, but in terms of before Bivol, those fights were all close. The Saunders fight, the Caleb Plant fight, they were all close until he came out in the championship rounds. And I believe that pretty long layoff. It's been what 4 years. I know it's the same thing. It's in September and all that, but like I was saying, Golovkin to me is the legend here. Highest knockout ratio, the title defenses, knockout after knockout. And the first fight was, he should have won that fight. Hands down, he should have won that fight. He was the champion. He had the, like I just finished saying, highest knockout ratio in middleweight history, in my opinion, or to my knowledge. I may be wrong, but and then the second fight was razor sharp close. So I mean, in terms of the fight being four years later, it's a disadvantage for Golovkin, and I believe he's been avoided from many, like I just finished saying, and it's gonna be a tricky fight for him, just because of of his age and all that. What's going on, Geeky Girl Journal? Thanks for stopping. I think that, Canelo, he's shown a lot of flaws, I mean, the last fight was a clear example, and I should say that Golovkin is a guy that uses his, and 90%, I believe, it's very possible that he can trouble Canelo. He's seen what Bivol done. Operation Capson, thanks for stopping in. He's seen what Bivol's done. So I mean, if Golovkin can control Canelo, all good, my friend. Just talking Canelo, Triple G. If he can control Canelo and push him back, he stands a good chance of landing on him. He landed multiple times in the first fight. In the second fight, power shots. With that power, and I always say this, some guys, with the weight and the technique can really pack a punch on you. So I mean, Golovkin's a gifted puncher, and he can use his weight. So I mean, there's a possibility Canelo coming off a loss, Golovkin putting on weight, may be an advantage for Triple G, in my opinion. I mean, that's just me saying. I'm not going to write him off. He's met the weight, 168. He looks in great shape, and like I say, he can claim. What's going on, Jedi? Thanks for stopping in, brother. Go subscribe to the Jedi. The boxing channel, Sam's Boxing First Vlog. Go subscribe to those guys. Jedi tells it how it is, as always. And I appreciate your time. The legend for me in this fight is Triple G. He's been, avoided. For sure, Canelo, brings in the money. I've said that multiple times. Him and AJ are the cash cows. Him and AJ are the cash cows. You can't doubt that. You can't doubt that at all. But all I'm saying is that, to me, the legend is Triple G. He does stand a chance. And he's going to have to, Bud Fowles, thanks for stopping in. He's going to have to, the distance here. When I say control, Canelo's a guy that he walks you down. He walks you down. And I just finished saying, I mean, the last 4 rounds, he's only come out on the back end, the last 3-4 rounds. Golovkin's going to have to push him back, use his weight. Now he's got that weight advantage. He's got the more power. He's have to control the distance with Canelo. Not saying to push him out too much, but at least keep him at mid-range. And that's normally how Golovkin, he crashes the pocket. He uses the power jab. He uses power shots, which, backs off opponents. And do you think the weight gain and cut will affect? A brother of certain age, firstly, my friend, thanks for stopping in. I apologize for the lag. I apologize for the lag and the talk and all that. I really do. It's a common problem for me. And as long as you guys can hear me, You know, that's all that counts. But I really do thank you for your time. I think that Canelo, like I said, you know, the last 4 fights, he hasn't looked too impressive. It's been razor sharp close with Plant, with Saunders, you know, with all of them, and obviously he lost to Bivol. I think you know, Golovkin can look back and see that against Murata. You know, I've got to say that, you know, he didn't look too impressive against Murata, but you know that in terms of trying to outbox Canelo, you know, he's got to knock him down. You know, the same judges are going to be there, you know, which is disappointing to hear. You know, which is very disappointing to hear, because I mean everyone knows that he won the first fight. You know, I know there's some hardcore Canelo fans and all that, but a certain I forgot the name, but anyway, I think that the I'll bring it up in the chat. I'll make sure I get the name. I know some people like, man, that ain't my name. This is my name. I'll make sure I get the name right. Okay, a brother of a certain age, and hey, go subscribe to his channel as well. You know, great channel. So I think that the weight loss will affect Canelo more than Golovkin. I think Golovkin putting on the weight, because obviously, you know, he ain't gonna win on points unless he puts him on the canvas. And I think that with his technique that he does bring, um, that 180, which you know is not on, and I mean, Golovkin was the champion. You know, you got to understand that he was the champion. Like I finished saying, you know, that his reign as champion. I mean, he's champion now, but I'm just saying, you know, his reign when he was champion, when he lost to Canelo, was, you know, I mean, you see Eubank avoiding him as well. You know, you see him trying to call out a guy, you know, call out other guys in different weight classes and things like that. You know, I mean, Golovkin's a legend in middleweight. You know, there's no doubt about it, and everyone knows that. He's avoided. I believe that Canelo's challenging him, you know, at the right time, because that's also a thing that questioned me. Like, why did he fight Bivol first? You know, that didn't make sense to me. You know, and he's lucky that he's got that name. But I mean, any warrior, you know, like a Ali knows, you know, when you lose, you run it back. You know, you run it back. Think about Ken Norton, he ran it back with him, challenged Frazier, challenged Foreman, challenged Frazier. You know what I mean? You know, there's none of this, hey, I'm still champion. You know, and I mean, Canelo's a good fighter. Canelo was a good fighter. His defense is great. You know, but I'm just saying how it is, you know, how I feel. You know, I'm just saying how I feel. And to me, Triple G's the legend in the fight. It's going to be hard for him to win on points unless he puts him on the canvas. And he should know by now, you know, the way to beat Canelo is to put him on the back foot. You know, is to use that power jab. And that's something that Triple G's good at. You know, he's got a good power jab. As long as he can keep him at mid-range, like I was saying, you know, as long as he can keep him at mid-range. Thanks for sharing your video. I'm not writing off Triple G at all. He can claim to be undefeated. You know, he can claim to be undefeated. He's the legend in the game. You know, in my opinion, he goes up as a legend in terms of with Hagler. You know, that's just my opinion. You know, he's a legend. You know what I mean? So I mean, if you're talking about a legendary trilogy, I mean, sure, you know, the first 2 fights were great, but just the time of 4 years later, you know, normally trilogies, you know, you run it back straight away. Especially if you're a guy like Ali, you know, he ran it back straight away with Frazier, you know, that second time. After that second fight, you know, the next year he ran it back. You know what I mean? And I think with Canelo, it's more personal because he knows, you know, he can watch that fight. He can see what the public are saying in that first fight. He knows Golovkin was the champion, had a hell of a reign, knocking everyone out. And he knows that he got lucky. You know, he knows that he got lucky, and I don't know how he lost that first fight. I really don't. The second one was close. The second one was closer than the first, but the first one, he was doing like what I said, you know, he was putting Canelo on the back foot. And although Canelo can slide shots and all that and slip and slide and he can use his technique, you know, his defense is good, like I finished saying. Golovkin was still landing numerous power shots on him, you know, and Golovkin's, given that he had the knockout ratio, that he has the knockout ratio that he has, that he had the reign that he had, you know, that he is undefeated, you know, he can still claim to be. Given all those things and accountability as well as being champion, you know, being a 90% knockout ratio, defending your belt as a champion, and you know, getting robbed in the first fight. I mean, how can you give it to the other guy? You know, that doesn't make sense to me at all. You know, my understanding of a trilogy is always, or a championship fight is always, you wanna beat the champion. Either you knock him down or you beat him by unanimous decision. You know, or else run it back. You know, I mean, they shouldn't have given Canelo, even the second fight could have been a draw. You know, should have been a draw. It was close. The first one I gave to Golovkin, hands down, being the champion, backing up Canelo, being the aggressive fighter. And I keep saying this, you know, when judging a fight, you know, there's always steps in play. You know, there's always steps in play. Punches, you know, and I mean, if a guy's got the highest knockout ratio in middleweight history, and he's walking you down and he's landing on you, and you know, and you're on the ropes, but he's landing ferocious shots, how could you not give him the decision? You know, how could you not? But all is said and done anyway, you know, I mean, the judges obviously ruled it the other way. But the fighting fans know what's up. I mean, how did you guys score it, if you guys can still hear me? What's going on, Patrick? Go subscribe to Have Cheetah Wolf View, you know, one of the greatest channels out there, for sure. You know, one of my personal favourites, you know, a hell of a channel. Go subscribe to his channel. But as I was saying, I apologise for the lag. You know, I apologise for the lag, like I finished saying multiple times. But no, I scored that fight. You know, if you guys are still around, you guys can hear me. Let me know how you scored that. What you thought of the first two fights. Loss, and I was just finished saying, you know, normally when you come off a loss, you run it back, and you're not the champion. You know, I mean, because he's a super middleweight champion, he still holds that title. But I mean, you go back to, you know, Ali. You know, I mean, he lost to Norton, ran it back, challenged Frazier, challenged Foreman, ran it back with Frazier. You know what I'm saying? And I don't agree with the order that Canelo picked, because he had a 2-fight deal, you know, and I think that he should have challenged Triple G first, you know. But I mean, he's still going ahead. And let me try to catch up. But the second fight was close. You know, the second fight was definitely close. I think that Canelo was more cleaner in the second fight, and you know, he wasn't was on the ropes, just like with Bivol. You know, he struggled on the ropes. And you don't want to be on the ropes against Triple G. You know, with that 168, you know, going up in weight. Because Triple G definitely controls his punches with his weight, you know, with the hooks that he throws, with that loop on it. He uses his weight as well, you know, and I mean, with a 90% knockout ratio, that's, you know, good luck trying to get your way out of that. You know, Canelo doesn't want to be on the ropes in this fight. But as I was saying, you're definitely right, Patrick. You know, you came off a loss, but you know, he's still fighting in the trilogy because he had a 2-fight deal with the Zone, I believe, and he decided to challenge Bivol before Golovkin, and I think he thought that Bivol will be easy. I mean, I questioned that. I questioned that fight immediately as soon as I heard that he's fighting Bivol. Because, saying, Canelo hasn't looked too impressive. He hasn't looked too impressive for sure. Let me just read that one quickly. Um, Apologize for the lag again. One positive thing about MMA, when, like, going back to Ali, when he fought Ken Norton and Frazier and all those guys, he was doing 4 fights a year, 4 fights a year, sell out stadiums, big paydays. I mean, he broke his jaw, with Ken Norton, jumped back in 6 months later. That's what you call a warrior mentality. You know what I mean? These guys today, firstly, it's shot from 15 to 12 rounds. I mean, it's all about money for them, And I mean, I understand it to a certain point, but I mean, at the same time, let's see the fights when they're in their prime, Let's see the big fights when they're in their prime. And this fight has been way too long. 4 years later, I mean, that's crazy. He's 40 years old. You'll walk him down because he's heavier. Like, I just finished saying, you can use your technique and you can affect the guy more, And Bubba was saying, himself, he was saying that, his whole arm was bruised because he was using his arms. He wasn't using his face as armor. You know what I mean? He was using his arms. He was very disciplined. When Canelo came forward, he was shutting him down with the jab. One of the best fights today for boxing. The best fight today for boxing is Crawford versus Spence. And I mean, Crawford fought last year in November. Let's not forget that, against a great fighter, Sean Porter. Obviously, best resume in the PBC. Let's not forget that. He beat him by stoppage as well. Knocked him down a couple of times, which is a hell of a performance. But I mean, it's basically rolling over to another year. You know what I mean? And I think he's like 35 now. He's still got a lot of, like, in terms of pound for pound, if he beats Spence, he will be number one, but there's still a lot of great fights for him. But because of the delay and because of the trying to time the fight and get the most money, that's what's holding up the fights, That's what's holding up the fights. It's just this, I want this much, I want X amount of money. But I mean, when you're guys like Canelo and Anthony Joshua, I keep mentioning them, they can easily fight 3 times a year, 3-4 times a year. And Canelo's been doing that, he's been fighting 2 to 3 times because they bring in their revenue, they're the cash cows of boxing, you know what I mean? So, I mean, they can fight. Some other guys, they just want a big purse. Some guys, they, and that's how people are inactive, And then in terms of boxing, I think that what you're saying, Patrick, is correct. I think that they should actually force them to fight more. Canelo wants to fight. I mean, Canelo wanted to fight against Bivol when he got shut down too early. And Golovkin. One thing about both of them is they can both take massive hits. Oh, like what I just finished stating. He's the cash cow of boxing. He brings in the numbers. So he can fight 3 to 4 times a year. You know what I mean? He's always been, a big name in boxing. A lot of people call him the face of boxing today. Even though he lost to Bivol, it was at a different weight. He was at a different weight. And that's just how it is. Unfortunately, that's how it is. But I can see that people have left, and I don't blame you. You know, I know that the lag is bad, and I do apologize. You know, I really do apologize for the lag. It's terrible. You know, I mean, I hope that you guys can still all hear me clearly. But what's going on, G5? Thanks for. But people's is getting a crack at Fury after. As I was saying, you know, and that's what's stopping these guys from fighting. Patrick, can anyone? Yeah. Again, I apologize. Um, when they look at Canelo and a Joshua fight, they're looking at dollar signs. You know, that he can say that he's a tune-up, he can state that he's a tune-up, but at the end of the day, it's all about money. You know, Fury was trying to get out of that Deontay Wilder trilogy for that, for that reason, to get that money. He shut him out in the second fight. You know, I mean, who wants to fight a guy that's angry at you? You know what I mean? And I think that he was desperately trying to challenge Joshua for the money. You know, and that's he's been trying to fight Joshua for a while now, Patrick. You know, and it's I don't think I mean he's very confident, Fury. You know, I think that he's confident against anyone. He'll probably say that Usyk's a tune-up as well. You know, that's just the sort of dude that he is. He's like, he's one of those guys that are just born to fight. You know, that always does whatever needs to be done. Very confident and gets the job done regardless. You know, of how it looks. What's going on, homie? Triple G won both fight. Stars makes fights you never know with heavyweight. Oh, for I apologize for if the volume you can't hear me clearly. G1, the second fight. There's some people here on the fence saying that Canelo won, but the third fight, I'm not gonna write off Triple G for sure. You know, I mean, I just finished saying if there's a legend in the game, it's Triple G, and with the power and the technique that he brings, there's a possibility that he can put Canelo on the canvas, getting up in weight because his technique is great. Triple G, he's got to put him on the canvas regardless though, TFM, because the same judges are there. So, I mean, if you thought that Triple G won both fights, it's unlikely that he'll win on points this time, So, I mean, let's just go back to the comments. Let's see where I mean, he's done a lot in terms of, he's the only guy in this division that is going to people's backyards to challenge the champion. He's the only guy that's really Joshua and Wilder. Something happened there and they never fought each other. And Fury's, come out and he's fighting everyone. But I think that he's still got a lot to prove. He's got to fight all the top guys. When you look at like, a brother of certain age was saying styles make fights. When you look at the top guys and Ali, and they all fought each other with different outcomes. Foreman put down Frazier in like 8 times in 2 rounds, 7. I forgot how many went the distance except for the third time. They stopped it. So I mean, styles make fights. But like I finished saying, he does prove that. I mean, he is a naturally, talented fighter, and he does whatever means necessary to win. That's the sort of fighter that Fury is. He's just one of those guys that are born with it. Some guys aren't, some guys are. And Fury is definitely a guy that is. Judges could rob him, but I'm gonna be, thinking it's another Bivol and think that he can just run him down in the starting round, you know. So, I mean, Triple G's going to have to use his power because he looked very vulnerable against Murata in those first rounds. You know, he was taking big hits. So I think Canelo's probably thinking the same thing, that I'll just run this guy down and try to knock him out. But I mean, when was the last time you saw Triple G on the canvas? But as long as Canelo can keep, Triple G can keep Canelo at mid-range, then, you know, he stands a hell of a chance. I think John controlled, you know, like in the press conferences, even in the fight, you know, when I saw him going to the ring and all that, he's just not in the moment. You know, there's too much pressure on him to perform. To perform, because he's a superstar. He's a millionaire. Obviously, he's the cash cow and all that. But you know, he lets the pressure get to him, and he doesn't really, you know, he keeps it inside. He doesn't let it out. You know what I mean? I see Canelo taking the action to Triple G. Yeah, for sure. You know, he's definitely gonna have confidence in trying to stop him early. But I think that, you know, like TFM was saying, you know, if he can use the jab, control the fight, establish the jab early. Most importantly, crash the pocket. You know, crash the pocket with power shots, as he always does. You know, keep Canelo on the back foot, like what Bivol done, you know, with the jab. Cut him off. Use his weight with the hooks. That's a dangerous fight. And I think that Canelo's going to try whatever you can to, you know, stay away from the ropes. But at the end of the day, you know, you get hit in the face, you know, you're going to feel it. 8 years young will look the more smoother fighter. You know, he probably will look more crisp. His defense is great, like I finished saying. But at the end of the day, you know, power always lasts the longest. And I know that you guys always hear that, but it's a true statement. And he's dealing with a guy that has a 90% knockout ratio. You know, a guy that's got the highest knockout ratio in middleweight history, which is a huge statement, you know. And that's why when they refer to a legendary fighter, I always refer Triple G being the more of the legend. Although Canelo has, like Patrick finished saying, you know, he's coming to fight. You can put him as a legend as well, you know. But I'm just saying, the last 4 fights, I haven't been too impressed, you know. I haven't been too impressed. It's always close. He comes out in the championship rounds and then he wins. And we're gonna see what's up, you know. We're gonna see what's up. I think that Canelo going for the knockout early may be a good thing for him. You know, he's got to try to make Triple G feel that power, and he can't afford Triple G to get his establish his jab, get his coordination and all that. Because I mean, once he does that, it's a dangerous fight. You know, the better for him. If Triple G can intimidate Canelo with the power, or even with the jab, it's a dangerous fight. You know, he's got to run it back. He lost to Bivol. There's no way that he will retire. You know, he's going to definitely fight Bivol. If he wins, I'm still not writing off. I'm still not writing off Triple G at all. I think that the weight advantage will benefit Triple G. And I mean, we've seen the weigh-in. You know, Triple G got 168. Canelo's at 167. So I mean, Canelo's a shorter guy, and the weight's pretty much the same. You know, so I mean, it's going to be a hell of a fight. And like I finished saying, I apologize for the lag. I did have, I believe, 10, 11 people in here, but I mean, obviously they left because of the lag. And I apologize if it is lagging with the volume. and it's a common problem. It's gonna be terrific. Um, something I've got to fix. There, no doubt, no doubt. But like I was saying, if there is someone that will retire, will probably be Golovkin if he loses. That's possible. It's a possibility that he may retire. You know, he's 40. Canelo's still got a hell of a lot of fights left in him. He's making huge, a lot of bags, a lot of money. You know, there's a lot of guys that want to fight Canelo. I don't blame them. And I believe if Canelo wins, he may get Bivol to drop in weight and fight him at super middleweight. You know, I think that he may do that, because obviously him shifting in weight is not a good thing. You know, and Golovkin's just been the man at middleweight dominating for years. The most avoided fighter out there. Like I finished saying, you got Chris Eubank that's trying to fight other guys. I do take my hat off to, Jaime Munguia. He's been fighting some good fights and trying to challenge the best. But I mean, it's a clear vision of who's getting avoided the most, and that's Golovkin. But I'm glad that the fight's going ahead for sure. It's gonna be a hell of a fight. Looks like they're both in great shape. They're both got good weight in the weigh-in. And let me know what you guys think of the trilogy. Who do you guys think that's gonna win? I gotta be careful. Canelo doesn't want to become Roy Jones Jr. But I mean, Canelo, he's been fighting guys that aren't too dangerous. You know what I mean? Bivol's probably his toughest test. And Triple G's 40. You know what I mean? I know he's gonna. So I mean, but I get what you're saying. I mean, Canelo can fight Bivol. I'm going with Canelo. Yeah, I mean, he's got the 8-year advantage. But all I'm saying is that I'm not writing off Golovkin at all. Does anybody else have, what's your guys' take on it? Drop a comment on it. What's your take on the trilogy? What do you see happening? And we'll take it from there. We'll take it from there. We still got 4 people here. I appreciate you guys' time. Once again, I apologize for the lag. But yeah, leave your take on it, man. Leave your take on it. Who do you see winning? And do you classify it as a legendary fight? With the big gap, with the big the 4-year gap. Do you classify it as a legendary fight, or what's your take on that? Clear. I think that they're definitely legendary fighters. I mean, but I still give more of it to Triple G. In my opinion. But no, yeah, I appreciate everyone stopping in. And I apologize for the lag. I really do. Undisputed super middleweight championships on the line. Yeah, the quality's okay. I mean, hopefully the volume wasn't too bad. In terms of you can hear what I'm saying. But I mean, it is fight weekend. I'm just surprised Canelo. Patrick was a 2-fight deal, and there was a lot of money involved. So I mean, he had to fight the top guys, the tough guys, um, because of the money that he was after, So they had to um, have a 2 fight deal in play with the names that he's going to fight to guarantee him that amount of money. And me personally, I would have fought Triple G first. You know what I mean? Because then at least if he did lose, he can run it back and he doesn't need to drop weight. But in this case, he had to drop weight, he lost, and then if he wants to fight him again, either he has to put on weight again, or the other guy needs to drop weight. So it didn't make sense to me, not fighting Triple G first. But age definitely isn't on his side. That's a fact. Excuse me. We're gonna see if age really catches up with Triple G. But in my opinion, I think that the fight will go the distance. I think that Canelo is gonna win. I think that he'll win on points again. But I'm not writing off Triple G. And if Triple G wins, he can hang up the gloves and say, you know what? I'm undefeated, even though, I may have got given a loss. I'm undefeated. I beat the best. And beat the best that I could fight at the time, the ones that wanted to fight. And go down, a Hall of Famer. If not, he's already a Hall of Famer regardless, because of what he's succeeded in terms of breaking records and his reign and all that. Both Golovkin can walk away being on top. Canelo, I think he's still got a lot of fights in him. And I think that he will still try to fight more people. I believe, he has to run it back with Bivol. And regardless of who wins, they both are great fighters. They are. We're in for a great show. It's gonna be a hell of a fight. I can't wait for it. I can't wait for it. And it's quite trippy because it's in September. In September, it's in around the same date. They fought the first time, second and the third, and around the 14th, the 15th, the 16th, or something like that. Around the same date in September. So I'm sure going through their training camps, they are both well prepared and know what to expect. When you run things back around the same time, you know what's up. There's no change in the season. You know what I mean? So they both know what's at stake. They both know what each other brings, and it's definitely a legendary trilogy in my opinion. You can't ignore those first 2 fights. Yeah, they'll get what they can. They'll get what they can. I'm not sure what's happening. With the Crawford versus Spence fight, but Showtime is Showtime. But we'll see what happens with that. But in terms of in terms of the trilogy, it is legendary to me, and I think it's going to be a hell of a fight. And we're in for a great show. We're in for a great show. I wanted to thank everyone for stopping in. Again, I apologize for the lag, and It's fight weekend. Canelo, Triple G, 3. 1 for the books. And thank you all for stopping in, man. I really do appreciate it. And we are over the hour mark. I'm going to close this off. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. Apologize for the lag. At a certain age, it is after hour mark. I appreciate your time, sir. You know, I fully multiple times. You know, he's also another cash cow on the rising, a superstar for sure. You know, Tank Davis is a great fighter. Devon's gonna beat Cambosos for sure. But I mean, that's another episode. Thanks for stopping in. Shout out to your guy of certain age, the Jedi, for stopping in. Boxing First Vlog, G5, TFM. You know, all the boxing people. Shout out to Patrick. Thanks for stopping in. Betty J Gathers, thanks for stopping in. I appreciate your time. Pete, we had a couple of guys that went, came and left. You know, you stuck around. I appreciate your guys' patience. I appreciate your guys' time. Let's fight with patience most of all. And I'll see you all soon, man. Peace out.